let's go. Let's go.
Tell him, man. Tell him.
Come on.
What's going on, you guys? So Conor Benn, his next fight could be getting announced this week. And Conor Benn, the son of the Dark Destroyer, right? Nigel Benn, the young destroyer, has been looking really good thus far in his career, right? Looking really good. But boxing fans have yet to see Conor Benn in there, somebody that we could truly say he's been tested. Thus far, he's been looking pretty spectacular for the most part, right? He's the undefeated, he's number 4 in the WBA, number 4 in the WBO, number 5 in the WBA, and number 5 in the WBC. He's 21-0 with 14 knockouts. And yeah, Eddie Hearn said something about Keith Thurman could be a possibility. Now, Keith Thurman, one thing we know about Keith Thurman is that he wants that $10 million. He wanted the $10 million to fight Terrence Crawford. He's alleged to want the 10. This is all alleged, right? He wanted $10 million to fight John Buzinnis. And of course, he's going to want the $10 million to fight Conor Benn. And we know Eddie Hearn has ways of finding that bag for guys, right? If you look at Keith Thurman, in this type of matchup, one would assume that Keith Thurman is likely to be his last fight. And if Eddie Hearn alleged to have got the money for Keith Thurman, then this likely be Keith Thurman's last fight. Conor Benn is looking really strong, really hungry, and really ferocious. But the guys that we've seen him in there with thus far, they all in their 30s. And Keith Thurman, it'll be no different. So really, Conor Benn have a lot of guys on his resume that's in their 30s. Chris Algieri, one of his more recent opponents, 38. Samuel Vargas, 33. Chris Van Herting, 35. Adrian Granados, 32. Steve Jamoy, 36. And Sebastian Formella, 35. And a lot of these guys have seen better days in the ring. About time Conor Benn got his hands on him. Eddie Hearn is moving him in a certain way, and we see the way Eddie Hearn is moving him. But will Eddie Hearn put him in there with Keith Thurman? I believe so. I think Eddie Hearn believes that his fighter Conor Benn could beat a guy like Keith Thurman right now. Keith Thurman is halfway out the door, and you get Conor Benn. He's always in shape. He's looking really strong, really ferocious. And yeah, Keith Thurman. Let's be honest about Keith, man. When I last heard about Keith Thurman, he said he sat back during COVID. He got the COVID again. He was sitting back, ordering Uber Eats, and so that tells me a lot right there alone, right? And one of his more recent statements, he was sitting back eating Uber Eats, and now he probably gonna need a get back fight and all that. Man, Keith Thurman's looking to cash out. In my opinion, I think Keith Thurman's looking to cash out. He's not gonna fight a guy like John Buzinnis or Conor Benn unless he gets the money that he wants. He's not going to get it for fighting Terrence Crawford. And this is the problem with boxing sometimes. Keith Thurman probably would fight Terrence Crawford, right? But who's going to put the money up for that fight? Who's going to put the money up? PBC, let's be honest, they don't seem to be really putting up the money. These fighters got to gamble on themselves with the pay-per-view. But however, if you got a guy like Eddie Hearn is involved that's willing to give you a $10 million guarantee and they're going to put it on pay-per-view, I mean, I don't see why Keith Thurman wouldn't take that opportunity, honestly. If he's just one leg out the door anyway and he's looking for one last lucrative payday, and then let's just be honest, it's not guaranteed that Conor Benn goes out there and beats him. He's still a young fighter, still rough around the edges. Keith Thurman's experienced. He's seen a lot in the ring. He's been in there with Keith Thurman been in there with some guys. So yeah, it'll be hard to say if Conor Benn, Keith Thurman, I don't know, man. I would like to see you guys' thoughts on that potential matchup. Also, they've been looking to fight Maurice Hooker. Apparently, is another guy, but Maurice Hooker, we haven't seen him since his fight against Virgil Ortiz. And Virgil Ortiz, we saw what happened in that fight. Maurice Hooker had a messed up hand, injured hand, and that's pretty much what happened. So, and he hasn't fought since, and that was quite a while ago. So, if Eddie Hearn is waiting to announce that, I think fans would be quite underwhelmed. But if they was to announce a fight between Keith Thurman, then I think that'll excite boxing fans. I think boxing fans, especially UK fans, I think UK fans is kind of thirsty for some excitement. You know, things have quite since died down. Tyson Fury's talking about retiring. Anthony Joshua, he's on his last legs, right? We don't know if AJ is going to beat Usyk, and it might be the end for AJ if he loses again against Alexander Usyk. Kell Brooks is allegedly retired. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, his next opponent isn't going to be Mikey. Mikey retired. It's not going to be Chris Eubanks Jr. because Eddie Hearn said they hadn't even really talked to those guys. So one would assume it could potentially be Keith Thurman. PBC will let a guy go over to make a lot of money if need be, just like Sean Porter when he was on his way out. Well, I don't even want to say Sean was on his way out, but in Sean's mind, he was on his way out. PBC let him go over there to ESPN, the Top Rank, and make the fight with Terrence Crawford. They may let Keith Thurman do the same with Conor Benn and Matchroom Boxing. So, yeah, that'd be a pretty interesting fight if it could possibly happen. You know, Keith Thurman, he wants that 10. You know, Eddie Hearn seems to be able to get the bag to make certain things happen, right? If he feels his fighter can win, too. You know, because really he could offer the money to Crawford, too, right? But I don't think none of my guys can beat him. So, no, it's not really good business for me, right? You know what I'm saying? It's crazy when you really, really think about boxing and how it really works. A lot of this shit is kind of business. Like Eddie Hearn is like, okay, yeah, I got 10 million for Keith Thurman. This is all ledge, right? I got the money for Keith Thurman. You know what I'm saying? My guy can beat Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman still has a name in the division. I could kind of increase my fighter's profile and add a really good name, a former champion, a legitimate former champion name to my fighter's resume. And he's looking vulnerable right now. But a guy like Terrence Crawford, or even a guy like Errol Spence, none of my guys can beat them right now. Eddie Hearn really only got Conor Benn as a welterweight, as far as I know. So yeah, they've been feeding Conor Benn a lot of guys that, you know, a little bit older, you know, a little bit over the hill, but that's really how you move a fighter. And Conor Benn might be ready for a guy like Keith Thurman right now. I'm not sure. You know, other Keith Thurman fans may come on here and say otherwise. I just don't know. Conor Benn is a young fighter full of energy. You know what I'm saying? If we look at Keith Thurman, he's looking like a guy that's halfway out the door. But I'm just saying, you guys, it's all hypothetical. We're going to see what Eddie Hearn announces for Conor Benn. I like Conor Benn. I want to see how his career unfold, man. Usually when you have a father as a that's a legend, or, you know, did his thing, that's a lot of hard shoes to fill, man. It's really hard shoes to fill. We're going to see if Conor Benn can fulfill his father, Nigel Benn's shoes, from the Dark Destroyer to the Young Destroyer. We're going to see what happens. Like, subscribe, holla at your boy. Peace out.